So in this bit towards the end of the day, I just wanted to interview Eleanor about some of the work that she's done in our institution, where are we? The University of Warwick. That's a good start on the day in which we're thinking about failure. Because Eleanor, you've made a lot of cultural and policy changes. You've been involved in a lot of the strategy within the institution, thinking about well-being and how we embed it within our teaching and learning spaces. Could you share a little bit about your journey with that, or your dance with that, and how you've come to the work that you've done, and what you've actually done to make some changes in those ways?
Yeah, I mean, I find it quite, if I think back, I find it quite odd in a sense, because I definitely didn't start with the intent. Everything started probably 3 years ago, simply out of reading the feedback to my modules from students. And they were writing, this is the first time I feel seen, this is the first time I think people actually notice I was there. And you know, you read these things, and I'm sure many of you feel, gosh, I've done my job. But then I was thinking, how do they feel in this way? They shouldn't, really. This shouldn't be a novelty. They should be feel seen all the time. And majority of my students are third-year students, so they've gone through 3 years of university. So I felt deeply upset, actually. And the more I was reading, and the more I felt upset. And so I started to look into kind of the idea of feeling well within a learning environment, and what were the mechanism of the learning environment that really affected students to a point that they didn't feel they had a face, and wondering, you know, if they don't feel they have a face, how they can effectively contribute, how can they effectively learn, and how can we effectively learn from them if they don't have the agency to be there? They don't even feel they have a face. I mean, so I just started, and I planned with one undergrad. I just put together, I got some little pocket of money from the benefactor of the university, in fact. And a little group of people was myself, a very early career researcher, an undergraduate student and postgraduate student, and we just started from the questions that you've done today. What is well-being? What is the learning environment? Let's put people together, staff and students, regardless of their status, their years, anything, and let's put them together and talk about that. And we create the report that you have explored during the day, and I got a true passion about this. I just kept reading and reading and thinking, and I just felt like that not enough people were thinking about that in our institution. Not enough people were thinking about that process. So I just started banging on doors, and the first conversation I had with a person was that this is not a priority in the university, and was a pro-vice chancellor, deputy pro-vice chancellor, whatever it is called, one of the people I have. Because I brought it to this person saying, I would like to work in this field, I would like to bring academics together, and literally was, I don't think this works. I was like, oh, that's great. So I didn't give up. I created a module that's called Understanding Wellbeing Theory and Practice, and in the process of doing that, I created a network of academics that had that at the heart of their research, but they had also the same feelings around that. And that has given me the strength to go back to the same person knocking at the door and saying, hi, I've got a group of people that actually thinks it's a really good idea. And I do think that this is a very good idea. And at the same time, and that is why this morning I was saying the institutions are now ready, comes up the Office for Students, which is this big governmental body in the UK university. They were pointing out issues around well-being and students. So at that point, this person said, yes, you can do this. It will fail very likely, but you can try. And I was like, okay, I'll take that. So we initiated this space for students and academics to come together and talk about these issues. And we reflected on the pedagogies and the ways in which well-being can be embedded. And soon we realized that these should be embedded across the curriculum, across the processes, across the governance of education, that should be the center of it. I went to knock another door at the head of the wellbeing services on campus, and I said to her, I think the strategy should look at, the strategy you're planning should look like wellbeing in the curriculum is not enough to provide students opportunity to recover. We have to provide to students opportunity to not feel in that way in the first place. And we know that this has lots to do with the ways in which university work that makes our students ill, even if they're not ill when they come in, or they make them feeling even more ill if they are already not feeling great. You know, I don't like the idea of a reactive response. Like, I give you all these mindfulness courses, I give you all these yoga classes, go up for a run, do all these things, and you'll feel better. It's on you. I give you everything, but you do it. And I think there is a line there. The lie is that is the institution that makes them ill, and we have to acknowledge that. It's the processes, it's the way in which we teach, it's the way in which we frame everything. So again, this person was very receptive, and sometimes it's the pleasure of working with non-academics that, you know, they're very practical sometimes, and they see the point straight off, and they don't need thousands of paper for having that theory justified. So we started working with her, and she gave me the freedom to bring in the work of students and staff that we've done around this. So now work as a strategy that has the aim to truly embed well-being in the curriculum, pushing for practices that can support that. And we have prepared the library with our students of suggestions and loads of master classes, or mistress classes as I call them. And lots of opening up spaces with students in which they can tell us what they need. And also, and that is the point that I was making in a Zoom meetings, we're trying to look at how can we look at the governance in this way, at the processes, at the administration processes. So, and I was saying that in our institution, people have to submit a certificate that demonstrate they are going through, they had a bereavement in their family. And I find it absolutely appalling that that even exists, isn't even there. So we will try to really look at all these administration processes and almost asking, does this process is well-being inducive or is a barrier to well-being? And we will take that in that way. So yeah, that's it. Basically, it's been and I sit on all those committees and all those things, and I'm the one that says, what about that, and what about this? And sometimes it's quite, I feel quite lonely, but I know I've got a family behind of people that think like in that way, and a family of students that keep saying that this is relevant. So that's what keeps me going. And I promised this was going to be 5 minutes, and it's far more. But I hope it responds to your questions. But I can remember knocking on many doors and being told that that was not important, and feeling that actually was the only thing that was important. And it's been a bit of a cunning move as well, you know, identifying and use some change in the system or some floating ideas for inserting myself into them, if you think what I mean, and bringing in actually my thoughts into it, if it makes sense, and the thoughts of the community I was working with.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to be thinking more about how we can bring about change within education and start to think more practically about that. And we'll be engaging with a text by Parker J. Palmer called Divided No More. And it's really interesting to hear you talking about the importance of having a community and not feeling alone to keep your well-being strong enough and good enough to be able to take these conversations and have these difficult conversations in environments which don't necessarily feel welcoming to you.
Yeah, no, it's thank you for giving me this opportunity, Naomi, because I've not actually stopped to think about the process. I've been just so entangled into pushing for this to a point that, sometimes I felt I was compromising myself. So, and I've not stopped and think actually where I came from, and it was really useful talking to you actually, and refocusing and rethinking. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's fascinating to learn from you.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Later.
Oh, later today, yes, for the coffee break, maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on when people are engaged.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Later.
Later.